This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Call the meeting to order, and Kyle suggested that we do roll at the beginning of the meeting, say who we are and why we're on how we arrived on the committee. And I thought that was a good idea, just for people that have never been here before. That's on the record. So I'm Scott Kavanaugh. I'm the mayor's appointee, and I'm the chair of the committee.
I'm John Bruner, here from the Historic Commission.
I'm Andy Hunter. I'm the rep from the Park and Rec Commission. I was voluntold about 6-8 years ago. No, just kidding.
Jessica Allen. I am City Council President appointee.
Jay Ryan, I represent the Conservation Commission.
Excellent. And we have 5 members here, which is quorum. That enables us to begin. First thing, the approval of the minutes. The June minutes we've had for a little while. Which is actually, all right, this is the May minutes. That's on the agenda. It says the June minute. Did we approve the?
I think the wrong ones. I apologize.
That's okay. But I think we
discussed them, but they weren't
ready yet.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so what I'd like to maybe propose, because we just have the September minutes, and actually I think it would be good to have a few more people that were at the September meeting to approve those minutes. So I think it might be good just to table the approval of minutes until next meeting. Does that sound? How does that sound?
Sounds great.
That sounds good.
Great. So hopefully in November we can do June, September, and October. And yeah, if we send them out, then we'll have them. Awesome. Perfect. Public speak. Is there anybody here to speak on something other than pickleball or Tasty Top?
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you prefer public input when you're reviewing a project? Will you request it at the end of your discussion?
Yeah.
Each committee does it differently.
Sure.
it's
So
like-
typically, the way it works is we will hear a presentation from the applicant. The committee members will have questions.
Yeah.
And then after that, we open it up for the public to ask any questions, either of the committee members or the project.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything else? Screen 2. City officials, do you guys have anything? And Tom's not here. Do you guys have anything?
One thing, we received word from the skate park committee that they would like to provide an update on at the November meeting. So that they would like to be on the agenda to provide an update and their future plan. The skate park committee. So that's one update there.
Great.
It's on agenda.
Great. And yeah, they reached out to me and I said, just to get it on, our radar sooner than later. Just in looking at the different things we have coming up, and to say, even if you're not quite ready, to let us know where you're at. That project we previously funded. And so we have,
I think there might still be plenty.
Well, that's part of, again, going back to that clawback discussion that we had a couple months ago and getting a sense of what their deal is.
exactly. So
Well, I
thought
can
that-
give you the one background I can give you that is that they've got approval from the Park Commission to the design in at Millside. So that's probably what they're gonna be here to talk. Great. It's just to give you some general information about that.
Great. So yeah, should be on the agenda in November, and they'll be invited. Well, there we go. Great.
It's 26,000.
Anything else, city official? Account balances.
Yeah, so I apologize for not getting this to you earlier. The flow, we're still figuring out our flow, I would say.
Which is totally understandable, and we really appreciate everything Ava and Kyle have brought to this committee.
Okay, so here we are, using Jamie's old format for
Smidge
bigger. Yep.
For the old eyes in the back of the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you for not having me have to say that.
Is this good?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
excellent. Great. Yeah, so we're gonna walk you through this. It's nicely, luckily nice and short because it's early in the fiscal year. So, as you folks probably recall, this is what was left, 15 cents, 93 cents, and 90,000 in each of the set asides at the end of last year. And then this was the money that was collected in the undesignated fund at the end of last year, or at the end of, at the end of last year. And then all the revenue received from fiscal year 24, we didn't know that number until relatively recently, like in August and September, came out at 993,199. And this number was, the number that Jamie budgeted for was 804. So we received substantially more than that amount.
Sorry, that's all local. That's local money, not state or
That's the combination.
that is.
Yeah, so that's all the revenue received from both the local tax and the state match for fiscal 24.
Thank you.
And then the local surcharge for sure. And then here we have, is all the expenses from last year was 882. This was the money that the committee decided to appropriate last year. And then in this line here, the committee, these are the set asides that are promised.
Hey, Greg.
Hello, Greg. So the set asides, the 3 set asides as agreed upon in the fiscal 25 budget back in February, the 110s in each category.
That's the normal one. We normally set aside every year, I believe.
I did notice in the February meeting, there was some conversation about what exactly that number should be, but this was the number that was agreed upon in the budget, was 110 in each of the categories. And then the budgeted reserve fund was 250,000. So these are beginning balances for this fiscal year, 110, essentially 110 in open space and historic preservation, 200,000 in affordable housing, and then 187,000 in undesignated. Now, the committee has already voted to appropriate money to Lathrop, so that came out of open space. And here, these are the balances as they currently sit. So
What about the project at Ferry Street, the affordable housing? Because that was, we kind of split fiscal years on that one, right?
yes,
Okay.
precisely. So yeah, exactly. So down here, pending appropriation
Oh, I see now.
earmarks. Yep, 11 Ferry Street.
The old eyes didn't see it, sorry.
No, you're right.
It's in red.
200,000 was promised to 11 through 15, 11 Ferry Street for fiscal 25. So that money will be appropriated to them per the project funding agreement as agreed upon by the committee, leaving us with this line right here as our estimated available balances.
Fair enough. And is that 250 for the,
That two,
It's like our buffer.
exactly. So that 250 is the,
what about the money for the old city hall? Is that in there also somewhere?
the committee did not set aside any money for Old Town Hall last year, correct? In the fiscal 25 budget?
There was a bonding, there was a whole,
You were doing everything. I thought
bonded,
it
didn't
was
we?
part of the whole thing. I thought it was
I thought-
every year, right?
Yeah, as
That's
We
good.
decided not to
decided not to bond,
Okay,
is that what we
good.
decided not?
Good
to?
decision.
Okay.
Good choice.
That project is hard to
The,
track
the
Yeah.
200,
on all the decisions that we.
200, 100, 200, is that
Well, it started at 4 million, I'd say.
that's 580? The 580 number?
yes. This is the
Is
five.
that the numbers below?
The 580 is the red version of these four columns or these 4 cells summed. Does that make sense? So the 580 out of the total undesignated, which is these two added. The red is
The money that
subtraction.
we're spending.
Exactly. So coming out of the undesignated fund comes the 3 set asides. and a reserve fund.
So some of that undesignated, I think, was a couple of housing projects that we funded, correct? Probably.
The old town hall, the whole idea was that we were setting aside money so that we wouldn't have to borrow as much.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
but the money was not set aside last year.
Maybe because we didn't have enough money to do it, but we made a
No.
commitment to do that. I'm super confused.
It got me confused too a little bit, to be honest with you. I thought it automatically came out. Because we voted to have it done. Up until whatever, I think we committed to 3.5 million, and I think we were gonna set aside money until we got to that point. But
Right.
I could be,
I don't have any recollection of skipping a year.
I don't remember.
No, I do there.
Right, I agree with that.
There's
I
the.
know we were out of money last year, but I
budget for
thought.
last year.
We had already set it aside, right?
For fiscal 25.
And how much was it every year?
It's 250 a year.
Every year.
250, I thought, right?
That's what I thought too.
Hold on.
What was the meeting we did budgeting? Was that June?
It was right before Jamie left, I believe. And I remember Dan being very anxious about this Old Town Hall project before he left. That,
Which is why we were trying to set that aside.
right, we were trying to figure it out. So I'm just trying to give
There is
some
right-
calendar
there is
context to you to go
Yeah,
back
for
to.
sure.
There we are right there, 250, 250, 250.
Right,
second floor construction.
But fiscal 25, 250 was not set
And we
aside.
haven't set it aside,
That's
we
in the
haven't set it
budget.
aside for yet.
Oh,
This
wait,
is the
because
budget.
it's the upcoming year. Right, right, right. That's why.
That's why we haven't.
That's
seen it.
why.
Okay.
Right,
Because we haven't voted on it yet.
Yeah, yeah.
Right,
Ah.
Now I'm getting it.
yes.
Thank you.
The past tense was throwing us off, like you guys didn't set it aside,
Well-
but like we're in the year.
We haven't voted.
But unlike,
Well, we did approve, didn't we approve that budget? We approved a budget before Jamie left.
without it. set
Without
aside.
it, I believe, because we said, okay, we just want to know that it's there, but because we have less money, we want to have more flexibility. And I
I
feel
agree
like
with
there
that.
was a discussion about
I agree-
that.
I agree with
There
that.
was no money to set aside.
Yeah.
That was it. We, until the new year, we were not gonna have any money to set, the reason there's nothing set aside is because we haven't had any funds set aside.
Now we have a choice to set aside or not.
Right, but I guess, like a relevant component here is that this is different than how Ferry Street was handled, right? In Ferry Street was budgeted as a set aside. And it
Because
was
that's
already
what-
Budget,
promised.
Ferry Street was approved
Yes.
as we are awarding this money.
Yes.
in-
Yes.
For the applicant's request.
Yes.
Where
I remember that.
where with Old Town Hall, it was, we think we're gonna need this, so let's put some money away, but there was no
We're trying-
applicant that
Again,
was
we're trying to
awarded.
reduce the
Right.
amount of money we're gonna end up having to fund.
Like a savings
Right.
account.
Yes,
Yes. It's okay.
Okay.
That's cool. Thank you.
so, yeah, so returning,
Good job.
And part of this is we haven't
Met in a while.
met as a whole group in a while. And
And we
we've had-
relied on
yeah.
Jamie to take care of all of it. So we didn't have to think about it.
okay, so the relevant row here is really this one, estimated available balance. 776,000 in open space, 110 still in historic preservation, $914 in affordable housing, assuming that 11 Ferry Street is coming out of affordable housing.
Yeah.
And 187
Undesignated.
in undesignated,
And then the reserve fund.
the reserve fund.
Just
Did we say I feel like that's larger than we said. I thought it was like 10%.
What was last year?
The reserve fund, I took that number from the budget, which is right here.
Well, last year it was
So
196.5.
maybe we're holding that in case we want to give the money to the Old Town Hall.
No, that was when Hadel came.
Yeah, the Hadel
She came
discussions.
and she was like, you guys, you can't be spending out absolutely everything. You have to have some sort of buffer in here
So
for
that's
good
what we
accounting and auditing
The
purposes.
timing issue.
Right, so it was her recommendation and we approved to
250.
reserve. At least that's the number last year, that 196.5. That's kind of, I think, where it was at when she showed up and we were like, okay. So it must be a percentage of something.
It's 250. What, that's like, that's
It's
over
still money.
25%, right? It's because we have less than $1 million total.
Yeah.
So I mean, that feels like, what, 30%? Like, that feels like a huge reserve fund,
Yeah, but
given,
it's better to have it than not have it, right? Because we can always redesignate it. It's just, that's why it's reserve fund, right?
It was for accounting purposes and auditing
Yeah.
purposes. Hadel really wanted us to make sure that we had a cushion.
because I get,
I do believe we did vote on this specifically, so it should be in our minutes
somewhere.
about setting up the reserve fund and maybe the amount that we were saying or the percentage that we were
Because I think it was
saying.
percentage, yeah.
It was
So,
10%. wasn't
so
it?
I
don't
feel like
know.
it would yield to research. I definitely don't have that on the top,
Okay.
But
My recollection, like yours, is that we thought, okay, better to put more aside because we can always redesignate.
But my understanding with the discussion with Hadel was essentially you're gonna have money that you can't award, right? That like is for all intents and purposes, like not
It's a
there.
bumper. It's a
And
bumper.
so that seems like,
For a lot of.
that seems like a lot of money that we wouldn't be able to touch, especially given projects and the amount of money we have. Like, I think we're gonna wanna spend some of that money. And so what I wanna have an understanding of is how much can we really not touch? Because I think 250 is bigger
I agree.
than my recollection of that, you know? So I think we need to understand that.
yeah, it'd be good to just rewind on what we exactly voted on for the reserve fund.
So
Because my recollection is similar to yours. It seems like a high number to me.
It's a
but,
percentage,
you know,
yeah.
It was
yeah.
10%.
it's not 30, it's like, what is that, 30, 34?
That's like 33%.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I think it would be helpful to go back in the minutes to see what the percentage was, and
Okay.
then maybe if you could double check with Hadel and
Sure.
just make sure that, you know, if 10% seems like a reasonable number to the committee members, if that works for her auditing purposes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We might have set that aside just based on the fact that we weren't really sure what we were getting.
That's true too.
That, yeah, it
Better
might have
to-
been
better-
10%
Better to
of.
judge
yeah, right.
high and then you can always take something out of it. Right?
Well, we didn't think we were getting 2.5 million, right? I don't know.
No, I get you.
We didn't get 2.5 million, we got 991.
No, that's what I'm saying. If it
Yeah,
was
we would've thought we-
10%, yeah. But I think, yeah, we might. So I guess that's, yeah, look at the minutes
Yeah.
and, because I think we just really want to, I think we need to understand,
How
like,
much we can have.
going into this year more than any year that we've done this, at least since I've been here, we need to really know, like, how much money are we dealing with that we have to be able to award these projects.
For sure. I was going off of the budget,
Yeah.
which I
To be
thought.
really
You
clear,
did-
thank you
you're
for
doing
all your
your-
work and you were doing great.
Yes.
This is like,
Yeah,
this
no, of
predates
course.
you a lot. So this is, but to really, to be able to drill that down would be super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Great.
just to clarify more than anything else, right? School.
All right.
Is there anything else that the committee members would like to see on the account balances side of things?
Can we just scroll down a little bit? Is there project update, like project account numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just curious to look at this before we go into a Parks and Rec discussion on other Parks and Rec projects and just have a sense of where things are at.
Right. So this column right here are the dollar amounts remaining in each one of our open projects.
So under Parks and Rec, we have the Stonehouse bathroom design, which has 27,000 in it still. What else is on here?
Nonotuck Pool,
That's the two pools.
Yep,
there's a
that's
Trailhead.
moving forward though. I think we all know, and I just want to give a shout out to Parks and Rec. That was awesome.
So. you can't see-
John-
you can't see
John's
John
on,
right
John
now.
did, John
There
did, John did a lot of work.
Smiling.
Trust me.
John, that pool is awesome.
John had hair when this project. started.
Thank you. Mhm.
What a great resource for this community, honestly.
Oh.
Okay, sorry to digress.
And thanks CPA for helping make that happen.
Absolutely.
That's pretty much it though,
New
right?
City Parks Design, that's planning department, right?
Yep.
Okay,
So that's pretty much it.
and that's it. Okay,
skate park design.
They're coming next.
They're coming.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
that'll be
All
the
right, so
discussion.
just the Stonehouse is
Skate
the,
park is not Parks and Rec.
It may,
they're coming next meeting.
They're coming next meeting. just so you know,
I
Dave.
heard that, but that's not
Okay.
Park and Rec.
Yeah.
Sponsored, that's.
No, that was their own.
They're their own entity.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And while we're on this, I mean, especially given those numbers before that we looked at before, we're still looking at trying to get some of this back. And Ava's gonna work on that moving forward.
Are there specific ones? Should we just work down the list? Are there specific ones the committee would like to see appear before?
Well, my pet peeve has always been the open.
I think the discussion, Ava, was some of the older.
The older projects, the no.
So like down the list, there, I'm not sure it's in chronological order necessarily, but But some of the ones that are older that have balances, we want to know the status of that and whether, you know, if it's more than 2 years, if it's 2 years or more. I just kind of want to have an idea.
And I really think like inviting, if no one shows up, the understanding is like, we're gonna take that as project is closed and the money comes back to the committee, because we really we need every dollar. I mean, $8,900 for fiscal year 17, like,
Yeah.
you know, that's not go, like, we need that back. All right. Anything else on account balances committee? All right. I'm just, so on the agenda, Tasty Top is first. I want to check, is there anybody here from Tasty Top on that project?
I'm from Tasty Top, but here about.
But you're
Tasty
here
Top.
about that project?
Yes.
Okay. And ma'am, I'm sorry, you're here on the skate park? Or the, excuse me, the pickleball? Or no, on the Tasty Top project? Got it. All right. You were suggesting, you think that the pickleball project is gonna be a relatively quick?
But I guess it depends on, is someone here to present to Casey Top? I mean, what exactly can you talk about if you don't have a presentation?
You're here you're not here to present, you're not from the,
Definitely.
all right.
They're from the
Why-
public.
My suggestion would be, because John's here, if we do pickleball, first, just,
Works for me. I'm just saying, general, yeah.
Yeah.
We already kind of know what's going on.
does that sound okay?
Yeah.
to me?
Motion to take pickleball out of order.
Great.
Second,
Great.
I feel like there's some sort of
Great. Is there a motion?
pickleball
Excellent.
joke that we could
All right.
work in there somehow, but I don't know
Um,
what it is.
I'm not going there.
All right,
stay on that side of the table.
John, you want to head this off?
Sure, absolutely. So as part of pickleball, years ago when we first put it in the park, we did kind of a wait and see approach. We were one of the first communities to get pickleball into the community for our area. So we wanted to design to, build to, see how it went. And it's been a very successful program for sure. When we designed the first two, we actually left space for expansion to build two more if it warranted at the time. And through the years, I think we're 3.5 years into pickleball. It warrants the additional courts for sure. It's a very popular program, and it's not just for seniors, but Camp Nonotuck did it this year. They were setting time aside. Folks from all over come to play pickleball, and folks of all ages from our community and beyond play the sport. It's definitely a booming sport. With us trying to get to 4, we are still behind other big cities and areas, which is fine. Where Easthampton and 4 courts would be a wonderful addition to the park. So we had Bill Cannon, who's done quite a few project designs for pickleball. Most recently, he's done, I believe, 4 in the last couple of years. So we reached out to him to do design work, which he did previously for the project, but also get a budget scope for us for the project as well. So those budget numbers of the 100,000 and 800 are from Bill's work in going on our site, and 25.8 of that would be coming from the Friends of Pickleball. So when they approached us about a year ago, a little over a year ago, about the pickleball expansion, one of the things for Park and Rec is for these special interest projects is to make sure they come in with some money for these projects. Soccer's done it through the years, Little League's done it, and pickleball now has done it as well. So they had a very aggressive marketing and fundraising campaign, and they turned around and raised 30,000 in a really short amount of time, which was great to see. So they're invested. in this financially as well, which is great to see, and developing a partnership for them to get additional courts down there is something the Parks Commission has approved, and there are many of our city councilors who are in playing pickleball as well. That certainly would appreciate having a few more courts. I think that's about it. I put in there, you can kind of see the design that we're looking at. One of the things we just did recently within the last 2 weeks is created a little more parking in that area. On the weekends with soccer and pickleball, it gets pretty crazy for parking. So the inner dirt area that separates the two parking lots, we created additional parking to try to squeeze in another 30 spots down there to help with the overflow for how busy it is for both places.
Parking is part of the project?
No, we did it in-house between DPW and our department. We created a impromptu parking lot out of the dirt area in between the two current parking lots. So it just helped to alleviate some of the pressures of how much activity goes on down there.
And John, on the subject of parking, I just actually happened to come from my kid's soccer game, so I was just there, and I noticed that right now, for parking, there's people parked basically where these courts would go. Are you concerned at all about the loss of sort of that, or I don't even know if they should have been parking there, but the loss of that area for parking?
No, because we're gonna add parking in that area, like similar to what we just did with the other dirt area, is we'll punch another entranceway in there and actually try to create some formalized parking in there. That's one of the reasons we created that other spot too, because we know we'll lose some parking with the pickleball courts, but they're not going to come all the way down. They're still going to be, I think we're estimating saving 20 spots in that dirt area there.
And I when I've been there on just as because I have a kid doing soccer, so I'm there a lot. When I've been there on soccer days where there's pickleball, people are parked kind of along the street, and that seems like to work out fine. I mean, there's a lot of space for overflow if, as demand goes up, it seems.
Yeah, what we try to do, especially in the fall, is encourage people to park at Section 3, the baseball softball hub, because there is that little cut through there. So, we try to have people just kind of park legally within the park wherever they can find it, for sure. But we know that we're a victim of our success in the park and one of those problems is parking for sure.
Committee questions? John, as far as when I've looked at them, they seem in really good shape. But the maintenance of the courts that are there now, has that been an issue at all?
There's a one little spot that we have to look at and get pricing for, and that's why I'm leaving like the Friends of Pickleball like $5,000 in their account to kind of help offset if there's any maintenance costs or any things that come up, because realistically in about probably 15-20 years there's going to be a redo of the courts. You're going to have to redo the surfacing, and it's definitely going to be an expense down the line.
But you feel confident, given the experience from the past 3 years, you feel confident about the way that one was done, that replicating that there is good.
Yeah. It definitely, there's always going to be a little bit of maintenance no matter what happens, but through the years, but very happy with the construction and how they turned out, and and how much they get used.
I played for my first time the other day on those courts. It was fun.
I just have one
Yeah.
quick question. This is always the pickleball controversy is noise. So this, I think, is a perfect location because there's like no neighbors, there's nobody around, but I just want to confirm that you haven't had any like major complaints with noise. I can't imagine that you have, but this is like, that is the one nuisance thing that always keeps coming up with pickleball. So I just want to confirm there's no issue.
Yeah, exactly. There's no issue. It's the perfect spot to have it where there's no concern about neighbors or anything. And you know, if you've been through there for sports and everything else, that you know a crowd screaming for a goal in a home game, you know, for a soccer game can be pretty loud. So
Right.
that area definitely warrants it. I know other communities because I deal with all the other park and rec people we meet all the time.
Yeah.
You know, other communities, you're right, are dealing with that noise issue. And thank goodness we don't have to in the park.
Great.
Actually, one more thing. Someone asked me the other day about the park, about that area because about the parking, and would say about a bike rack to encourage bicycle use to that area. And I don't know, you know, if that would be something that would be done just from parks or as part of this project. I do know when I've gone there, I've seen, you know, a fair amount of bikes that are just kind of leaned up and tossed on the grass. But in order to sort of have more of an answer in response to
Yeah,
parking-
absolutely. Yeah, well, I believe there's some floating around the town that we can get. I know through the years also they've had artists design bike racks as well. You know, so we could always go that route. But yeah, that's definitely something we will look into getting taken care of, whether it's us, you know, if the city has extra kicking around or you know, how we'll deal with it, but that's a good idea.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Because I think when people talk about parking, that would be one response.
Yeah.
Say, we're, you know, one thing we're trying to do to alleviate it is we're encouraging more people to bike to the park and we have our
Yeah.
new rack there. So
I
great.
like it.
Any other thoughts? No.
Can we get an update on the stone house though, while we have John on the line?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I like it.
It's good.
I mean, if he's got
So we're-
$25,000 he doesn't need, we might be able to put it towards pickleball. That's
So we're still working with Pioneer Valley about the historical designation. So it's been a long process because we looked at doing a historical designation for that building, cemetery building, stone house over there. The first round for that designation of historical was they tried to encompass all of Daly Field, and it got rejected because there was so many upgrades over the last 100 years for Daly Field. So they had to go back and reapply. So we are still looking to use that money because we still would like to have that bathroom and use the stone house building. That's still on park plans. And we, you know, we would need that money, and then we'd look at the historical designation funds from CPA and other sources to use to get the upgrades to get that bathroom and that building usable again.
Okay.
And then as far as like the pool stuff, I know there's, you know, like 3,000 here, 9,000 there, you know, there's 12, 13, 14, whatever still kicking around in there. Hadel and I met about 2 weeks ago. We're referencing our numbers. Everything by our goal is by December 31st to make sure we know that everything can be closed out. CPA funds, the state grant, everything will be closed out by this calendar year. So we'll report back when we know we can give those funds back and we're done with them.
awesome. Thank you.
But you anticipate some of that coming back from the pool?
I would say all of that's coming back.
Okay.
Whatever. There's some, like there was design fund money for like $3,000 left over, and I think there was 9,000 and change left over. I know I paid all the bills and I know the money was there that we used. So I'm pretty confident that I think we can get that money back.
Okay.
Yeah, if you pop that slide up, that's good. So the construction 9447, and then the pool restoration design, the 2823 is definitely coming back for sure.
Great.
And then the other 9447, I feel that we've put a bow on the project and paid everything. So, but I will defer to Hadel on that.
Were you gonna say something, Gray? I feel like with the stone house, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I'm slow, so I just want to clarify. So the project moving forward at this point is conditional on the historic designation. Is that what you're saying, John?
Yeah, because we've tried other outlets, we've tried park grants, and we've tried a lot of things to try to get funding for that. And we think if it gets designated as a historical site, we can go after historical dollars, and we think that's the best bet for receiving dollars to refurbish that building because it is historical.
Is that our only avenue for moving forward with that project?
No, but that we think that's the best avenue.
So what
We've tried a lot of other avenues, so we want to go with that avenue, and hopefully this one works this time around.
And if it doesn't?
Then we'll have to regroup, and then we could be kicking it back to you, and then just reapply.
Okay. And maybe I missed it, but did you say exactly when you would be hearing on that? What's the timeline?
It's been a long, drawn out process. So my timing is much different than what is being done for timing. So we're kind of, Pioneer Valley's planning commission is stretched pretty good, and they're doing their best with our project. They send me the information when it's being submitted in, then it goes to the national and in the state, and then after that we just wait and hear.
We're always here, John, so you can always reapply if you don't hear anything in 6 months, let's say.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll put a note on that if we're not using it within 6 months, we'll drop it and reapply.
Awesome.
Great. All right. Anything else for John? Carolyn, did you want to say anything on this project?
I think John did a great job speaking to the project, and I think so. I'm a park commissioner and also an avid pickleball player, and I think the pickleball community is very exceedingly grateful for the support of CPA in the project, and very excited to move forward with the project after the fundraising. And I think that speaking back also to the maintenance of the project, there's been a lot of conversations with the community members that, similar to the other organizations, soccer and baseball and softball, I think there will also be community support for maintaining those courts. There's a lot of community members that sweep the courts, dry the courts, take great care of them. So it's a very engaged group of community members, both from Easthampton, but also from surrounding communities. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise I'm just grateful for the support.
Great. Thank you. Anything else?
No.
All right. So my understanding of what we agreed to as far as how to operate is that we would hear from anybody else who's applying to other things in November. We would vote in December for projects from this quarter. Does that sound
That sounds correct.
correct to everybody? So what that would mean would be coming back in December for us to vote on this.
Sure, no problem.
Does that work?
Yeah, we'll just adjust the time frames that were in the I did this back in July, so that's fine. We can definitely work with whatever time frames.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate everything
Thank-
Parks does.
Thank you for all your support through the years.
All right. Have a good one. All right. Moving on. And thank you for your patience. Appreciate it.
Chairperson Scott, can I draw your attention just so that the committee is fully aware that if the committee funded this in full, right, that would essentially exhaust the open space column for the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just making sure. Blow that up again.
However, by the end of the year, he could be sending back around 12,000. So there is a little bit of money that could come back to refund that. And I don't know how that works. Maybe that's a question. If money is refunded, does it go back
Goes back into
into,
the original.
it does go back
I'm thinking
I think it should.
it should go back into
into the original, or does it end up in undesignated? I
Category.
think that's a question for Hadel. I'm not sure.
I think it was answered in a previous
Oh,
meeting
it
that I
was?
watched, and it goes back into the set aside, but it also can't be spent until next fiscal year.
Oh, right. That's right. That's right. We talked about that last,
spent.
yeah, we talked about that last meeting.
Money that's returned this fiscal year, fiscal 25, cannot be spent until fiscal 26.
Interesting.
We did. Yeah, I remember that. We talked about that last meeting.
Okay. But if it's already with Parks, could it be redirected?
Can we shift it over
Can we make can we basically approve something to shift money that we've
Only if it's related to the original
I'm thinking, yeah, you
I mean,
can't pay some.
the city has to approve it. We're not the only body that votes on these projects.
Right.
So
We just make recommendations.
we can, adjust or amend if it's an adjacent or related,
Yeah.
to the original application. We can kind of look and smudge a little bit, but the reality is if it's something completely different.
It's not gonna fly.
You're
Which the committee has done
Pool and
before.
pickleball both start with P, like we're getting there.
The committee's done this before, like for Old Town Hall, from one phase of the project to another phase of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
project, money was moved, but that was
That's
within the same category.
Okay.
Good. Wow, getting fluent. Nice.
You're doing great.
That really changes that discussion too. I mean, so I was thinking there was more urgency. I mean, I still think it's something we need to do.
Right.
But that there was more urgency in getting some of that money back, in that it would actually make money available for these projects we're dealing with in the next 9 months, 10 months.
But if we do it now, we'll have it.
No, absolutely. I should
Still
be
gotta do
clear.
it
I
along.
still want to do
Yeah,
it. But the urgency is, I mean, it's
Won't progress
Not-
now.
it's not going to help this necessarily.
Still a good exercise.
But I do wonder if it's already on par. Okay. All right. All right. Oh, we got this up. And thank you for bringing that up. Because this is what we need to look at, right? Like, especially, I think that 250 number is, some of that money could shift over a column. But
You
we're
have
still
the-
not talking about a big pot.
You always have the undesignated if you need something, really need to do something too.
Well, so
It's there for it.
it's, how much is the old city hall set aside that we have yet to
250.
designate or vote on?
Have to do it.
250.
And that's coming out of that, the column headers aren't up there, but I believe it's the second column that has 110,000 as the historic
Historic
preservation
preservation.
column.
Yep.
So if you're looking for some set aside for this year, it's 110 plus 140 from that undesignated.
Which is why I think we said we didn't want to necessarily set it aside first, because we wanted to look at how much we had and what other projects.
I think they should come in and tell us what's going on.
I'm sure Burns would come in and give us an update if we asked her to. I think that might make sense maybe for the next month to have a conversation with them, because if we don't have what we've previously committed to, because we literally don't have the money, I don't think it really necessarily impacts her. All it changes is the bonding capability, right? The whole idea was to borrow less. So we would end up borrowing more because we're not shifting it aside.
I think some of it was avoiding bonding.
Right.
It was the hope of avoiding bonding
Yeah,
because it's not worth bonding for a very small amount of dollars, because all the costs of actually bonding are so expensive.
Right.
Like it makes sense when you're talking about tens of millions of dollars, and it makes much less sense when you're talking about, you know, $1 million or so, you know,
I thought it was
so.
like 3.5 or something.
Right,
That's
but
the
like
number
once
I
you get
have in
down
my
to like
head.
small
Yeah,
dollars.
but 3.5
whatever.
was what we committed to the whole project.
So, but I do think
I got all that
to,
somewhere.
to your point earlier, about it being confusing and something that we regularly lose the thread on, myself included, I think it would be helpful to kind of summarize this in a way that we're all, and kind of level set for the entire committee, where we're at, what's been set aside, what the bonding consideration was, what, you know. So, if that happens in discussion or if that happens by going back in old minutes or whatever it is, I don't really know, but I do think it will help us not spin our wheels and all kind of feel like we're on the same page and we have a point of reference for this project.
Yeah. All right. I think we should, if it works, because I don't think we have anybody here to present about the Tasty Top project.
Correct.
So, I
Which is
think,
also affordable housing, is that my understanding?
Correct.
yes, it's affordable housing. It's, yeah, it's called the Tasty Top project because it's there, but it's not reviving Tasty Top as tasty as that would be.
Is that the column that has $914 in it? Affordable housing?
Yes.
Well, but there's also undesignated.
Yes.
So that's the question.
Yeah.
Do
Do we
we,
use undesignated
do you
funds?
use, yeah,
So what I might propose here, is, well, so we have what I'm going to present. I don't know if people have read through, there's no one to ask questions to.
Right.
No,
So,
I think.
Someone needs to come
makes
here.
sense.
yeah, so I think maybe for most of this, we can table, I think the general financial climate that we're in, we can talk about. But I'm wondering if we want to just hear from the public that's here and then, there's really not much to talk about that without, I think, them presenting. I think we should wait until we actually have someone we can ask questions to.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
so I think it would be important for the applicant to understand what the process is since they didn't attend tonight to present. Will the committee, we don't need to answer this now, but because this like quarterly process is kind of new to us and we're just like finding our feet again, are we anticipating to make a decision in December, giving ourselves a month to make a decision, or because they didn't come tonight for whatever reason, are they getting bumped? Like, you know,
Yeah,
we don't need to answer that, but I think it's just something for us to think about as we have this quarterly process. And already we're sort of like,
I mean,
But the application was in by the application date?
it was,
Yes.
yeah,
So
it was,
okay.
she was
we're
in,
good,
okay.
we're good with that.
Okay.
So we're just,
okay, so we'll just bump them a month then. Okay.
as long as we can get the review done before our December meeting where we have to make a decision on multiple
Yeah, there's
things.
no
Okay.
reason, right?
Okay. All right. Just wanted
Unless
to make
there's
sure.
outstanding,
Yeah.
unless there's something weird that happens next month, right? Where we need more information or something, then that would be different.
but I will also,
Presentation goes.
That's true. We can always continue it if we
Right.
need to.
the committee does not have to decide on every application on the table by the end of the quarterly cycle too. Things can be bumped to next quarter.
Sure. Right. Well, yeah, we basically set the rules. We broke them already once. There's no reason why we can't figure it out again. Right.
And the committee could also,
I
Well,
mean, that was,
nothing
I
moves
was
forward
part
without
of
a
the committee
vote
that
from
set
us
that
anyway,
original one,
so
and
if
then,
we're not prepared to vote or, you know,
Yeah.
then that's.
That's the way it is. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right, let's continue.
All right. You want to speak about this project? Is that my guess of why?
Would you like to come back?
Just so you know, yeah, the applicant isn't here, so we're
Yeah.
really gonna be talking about this next month. You're what,
I
you know, I
will
know
come
you've been
back
waiting
next
here.
month, but unfortunately, that does seem to be the MO of the applicant, not being present.
Well, I think, just to be clear, I do think part of that was the
It's an administrative
miscommunication because
mistake.
we're restructuring how our committee was, but yes, continue.
I would actually ask that no funds be allocated to this applicant. It is a development that is going to be primarily for profit with a lot of retail and commercial space and minimally low income space in there. They're already benefiting from the tax credit. And given his behavior at other committee meetings, and the fact that he stands to make a significant amount of money, I do not believe our CPA fund should be used for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my name, Kathy Wazinski from Overlook Drive.
Thank you.
Kathy, would you mind spelling your last name?
Sure. W-A-U, C as in cat, Z as in zebra, I-N-S-K-I.
Just like it sounds.
I missed a few of those vowels. Thank you.
Welcome.
And did you want to say anything about, no, okay, great. I think we should have the applicant here for our, and with the.
Yes,
So
agreed.
so I think,
Yes.
beyond that, we should table that project.
Yep.
Is there anything more on the fight? Because we kind of cut that off, but is there anything more financially that people want to look at, talk about?
I expect you're right.
I think
Thank
we
you
have
for
very,
coming.
very few dollars that are designated for affordable housing, so everybody sees that, so, definitely have competition for undesignated funds, and
Sure.
so that's gonna be the context within which we're making decisions and discussions.
Right.
And this is only the second quarter.
Thank you for the update.
Good comments. Yeah, timing wise, definitely.
I guess I'd like to emphasize though, that I think we want to get that money back because you pointed out, I noticed too, like F-17. So if it's just dragging on, that it's sitting languishing, that could have been recovered so that it would have been usable. by this
Absolutely.
Right, so let's get on that so we have it next time.
So who do we still need updates from? Because I feel like John was like the main person, and then planning has the majority of the rest of them.
Right, and I can speak
But-
to some of these as far as I'm currently updated on
Great.
them. I don't have an update on the Manhan Rail Trail. I'm not sure actually who the contact is for that.
Barbara.
Well, it was planning department. It was a planning department project. I mean, I can sort of speak to this from the recesses of my
Yeah,
memory.
Fiscal year 10, that's your time, right?
It was before my time.
4 years.
It was Stuart Beckley who applied for that fund. So, so that was in partnership with Northampton. And I believe that the money was being held to do some survey work for when it was like as-built or something like that. So there should be something in the minutes or in Jamie's files, because I know that we tried to communicate a lot with Northampton to figure out like what the story was. And it was being held for like as-built survey work or something. That's my recollection.
But they got like $1 million grant. I mean, there's still money that's going through, like, that should come back. It's
I'm
like-
thinking, it's 14 years ago, right?
Yeah, I
It's-
mean, right,
There's some
Yeah.
possible reason.
right. That
Yeah.
they-
I cannot believe
No,
there is.
No, I mean, I think.
And to be
those-
clear,
those
like,
funds
I'm
should-
on the Manhattan Rail Trail Committee. Committee's great, and there's a lot of times they should come back for but something from 14 years ago.
Yeah, it was for when the connection to Northampton, that's what this money was appropriated for. 14 years ago.
Echodale, who is even?
So Jay and I can probably both speak to that
Okay.
a bit. So this is a Conservation Commission owned parcel tucked in between the community garden and Park Hill Orchard. And yeah, and there's been a couple rounds of project planning for Echodale, and invasives removal and diseased apple tree removal, which occurred in the past. There was an invasives removal proposal that came before the committee back in 2017. They got a couple years into it. It was dropped, namely due to
The company kind of fell off the map on us. They,
Yep.
no call, no show. They wouldn't get back to us. And so
But this project is being picked back up again. And Jay is gonna mow next month
try to do that in November.
in November, a dormancy mow, and then we have a proposal for 2 invasive
We're
plant
looking at
treatments.
invasives after that.
To spend this money.
Yes.
So I wonder if when we do that, if there's a way then to show that it, like we're looking at F-17, is there a way to put in, little asterisks there, like still active, something that says this isn't languishing?
That's a good idea.
24 refresh and
Yeah.
update, right?
Yeah.
Sure. We could do like a last updated or something like that.
Yeah, that would be good.
I feel like it might behoove the community to like put in language in are it's like in kind of the standard.
That we're gonna snag
That's
it.
like, if this is, yeah, that it, like,
Yeah,
if
3
it's
years
not,
or-
yeah, like, if
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
used
by
for this for
default.
3 years, because like the
Yeah.
stone house,
And then you have to
Sitting on that-
reapply.
exactly, like,
So-
I'm all for spending money on the stone house, but like, just sitting on this money ties up a lot of money
Yeah.
that
The
we
project,
would
so
be able to do.
I think that's a great idea.
And so I'd like to have that, I think anytime we're awarding money moving forward, that, what do you think,
You
3
gotta use
years?
it
or-
3 years or it gets, you have to reapply for it.
You have to reapply, unless you come before the committee and we,
Well, there's
Yeah.
supposed to be quarterly grant reports by every applicant,
Which doesn't.
which I think the nonprofits who receive money view them.
Mhm.
The town staff do not.
Right.
So it's the town projects that we really don't have updates on. Quarterly reports are filed, and even, Lathrop, when they were here, she's like, oh yeah, quarterly reports, like,
Yeah.
not a problem. You're never gonna have that issue with nonprofits getting funds. It's these, in town sort of projects that we're not getting regular updates because staff's busy. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
But
like, I mean, we got what? We got 100 grand up there from fiscal, before we get to the Old Town Hall, all combined, right? Like, that's just hanging out.
like, what's going on with the Emily Wilson Library Historic Preservation Restriction? That was something that Jamie was gonna take on. Jamie's moved on.
Right.
Is that even still needed anymore?
Right, with the new building, I mean, like, okay.
So that was a planning project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That was, well, it was a combo. So the library committee presented with Jamie. There's got to be copies of these applications somewhere with applicant names, but Jamie had committed to, like, it was hiring an attorney or working with an attorney to come up with a historic preservation restriction, because the committee basically said, we're not going to give them any more money until they put a restriction on that building.
Okay.
Because we had funded boilers and
Yeah,
other
I
things
remember
other
that.
things that we
disappear if
funded.
it's sold.
Might have been rough.
Right.
Yeah, so that's money, I think, that really, like, what's happening? If nobody's gonna write a historic preservation restriction.
So,
Okay.
I mean, with all this, I know you got a ton going on and there's everything, but like, obviously, that we need some of this. So
Yeah.
even just prepare.
It might be good, I'm just throwing this out here, do a little matrix, project name, update,
Yeah.
like, and just send that out to the committee, just, a couple bullet points or a sentence or two. It doesn't have to be, a full report, but just like quick update. Whatever you can find between now and next month would be, I think, any information would be helpful.
It'd be good to know if you have any trouble locating the original application for any of these.
Yeah.
Because the application has contact and email, ideally, maybe we can't
Correct.
contact, maybe they don't answer or whatever, but that's fine. But in theory, we have all the contacts. If for some reason some of these old projects are lost to the archive somewhere, we as a committee would want to know that, because I think we'd want to kind of see if we can unearth the contact information some other way.
And as far as I can tell, in these grant contracts, going back to look at a couple that Jamie wrote, they do have an expiration date, and it's typically 3 years.
Yeah.
And there is a provision in those grant contracts that says if the money is not spent in 3 years.
You just don't execute it then.
So what's the execution mechanism?
Yeah.
Like, what's the mechanism that actually, because if that's the case, why is it not already back?
Well, because we pulled it back.
Like, what,
So
we
it-
vote, is
It
that?
doesn't default after 3 years.
We have to
can-
physically take it.
Yeah, I mean, so we've never really just been proactive as a
Correct.
committee
Because we
about
haven't had to.
going. We haven't had to, we just have never gone through
Never
it.
had to worry
We
about that
can, and if we, have 3 or 4 that we're like, we're gonna vote to close this out, we can.
I mean, I think that's, we need to send that out to, we need this money back.
Yeah, and I mean, right, we're here in October, fiscal years just begun, what is it? Is it July
Yeah.
1st?
Yeah, July 1st.
Yeah, so,
3 months.
so, we just have to get it done this fiscal year so that when it rolls, it becomes available next year.
Yep.
So we have several months to do this, and I think it's great that we're starting now.
The rule about it not, if it's pulled back, not being available to next year, where is that coming from? And is that Hadel?
I think it's coming from Hadel.
Okay, so one thing because I hear what you're saying about like, if it's like if it's kind of adjacent to the project, we might be able to, like these are too far apart. And what I'm wondering is actually, what does that rule state? Like, what is actually, because is it, if it's that it can't leave the department, that we could, potentially, is there room to vote and say, we're taking the money from parks for the stone house and putting it like, but like it's not leaving parks. Is that possible given whatever the restriction is?
I just said it came back and designated, right?
Probably not, because it's tied to a city council vote. I agree with Greg.
I just,
I think the mechanism here is such that it's not that it's Hadel. Like, I think,
Right.
I
City
think any
procurement.
CPA and,
Audits and all the other stuff. that
can't
goes
touch it
along.
until the next cycle. It has to be part of the budget for the following year. So
it's just accounting practice. It's a worry about like it looking shady. Is that?
no, I mean, I think we spend from a budget. I think that the dollars have to then be allocated to, there's like a process for, I don't actually know because I'm not a municipal accountant that's not my world. But that was my interpretation from what I remember Hadel saying.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these pieces of city government, kind of refreshing on an annual cycle. And it's just not something you can sweep this into this.
I mean, I'm not good at
You
this
can't
kind of
do
thing,
that.
but I'm understanding it as, well, it's already accounted for as part of another budget. It's in this account. So we have to say, we're gonna move it to this account.
Well,
Then that becomes part of this budget. Is that-
it's city council. We really actually have no authority except to recommend projects.
Well, right, but
So
but-
the lending out of the money actually is a council process. So my question is,
Can the council just,
is there some public hearing that we have to have? Like, does there have to
Yes.
be a whole list
they
of
vote
these
on it?
projects and we're closing these ones? Like, I don't know, because we've never had to
Yeah,
do
right,
this
right.
before, but is there some sort of other municipal process above and beyond just like clawing it back in the accounting side? Is there more of like a city council
Yeah, we need-
process side? Because we are not,
We
we
need clarity
just
on
vote
this.
and we recommend. That's
Right,
all our
right.
authority is. So we're not the appropriators at the end of the day.
I mean, there's evidence in the files of Jamie closing out projects that had come to her and said we're complete, right? And then she writes a memo
Okay,
that gets shared with the auditor
okay,
and with the mayor that says this money is ready to be
okay,
brought back.
great.
That's different than what we're trying to do.
Yeah, because I think those projects were typically initiated by the applicant.
And the
Saying
applicant said,
we're done.
I'm done with the money. In this case, we got people up here that one may not even be able to find, number one, number
Right.
two. Some of them probably don't even realize they still have money.
And some that are 10 years old still are actually gonna use them. So
So,
that's
yes,
why.
We just need an update.
it's
All
due
right, let's do one
diligence.
thing at a time. First thing is we need a matrix with the name and like a 1 or 2 sentence update, I think.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there.
Right.
And I think it would be helpful I think the other thing is figuring out this whole town hall.
Yes.
Yeah, because like when they have $3 million remaining that up there that hasn't been spent.
So Old Town Hall, just to clarify, Old Town Hall has 2.128 in cash remaining. And this is the bonding authorization that the committee committed to,
Right.
that the committee had previously been chipping away at. So moving
Right.
money from this $1.116 million amount into the 2.128.
in $250,000 amount
Into,
increments?
exactly. But the committee committed, as far as I can understand, to this bonding.
Yeah, we put like 3.5 million bucks to this project.
Right.
Basically.
And then there's a little bit left over.
Committed to authorize it.
You committed to authorize it.
Yes. So.
We recommended.
We have not,
Recommended, yeah.
we and
We
the
didn't
city and the
authorize
mayor
anything.
are not committed to the bonding, but we have at least gotten the authorization process out of the way in case the city wants to move forward with it.
Yes.
I think ideally we wouldn't for a small amount like that, but.
And then there's a little bit left over in the design account.
Still a favorite way to spend.
What'd you say?
And I have been compiling for the mayor a spreadsheet of all of the appropriations ever done to Old Town Hall by this committee, starting in 2004 and coming up to last year. So I'd be happy to share that with the committee at next meeting, if that would be.
Oh, sure.
Shingle your work. Don't recreate the wheel for us.
Okay. Woo!
At the end of the day, I think we need every dollar we could find. So if there's any way with any of these, anything. It's not being spent, it's not being spent. Let's spend it somewhere else.
Mhm.
All right. Our next meeting is what, November, November 21st. Where is that in relation to? That's the week before Thanksgiving?
Yep. The Thursday before. Yep.
Anything else before we adjourn?
Can I offer an update on Lathrop?
Yeah.
They sent us a
Quarterly report.
not quite. They sent us a flyer for a talk they're doing about the restoration process they have planned on their land. It's this Saturday at 2 p.m.
Okay.
if the committee would like to take a look at it. The other update I have on Lathrop is that there was some delays in getting their grant funding contract in place, given that there wasn't a staff member when the committee approved it. So they are not able to do an invasives treatment this fall. So they will be beginning their invasives treatment in the spring, which the applicant wanted me to clarify for the committee was due to delays on the city's part, which is true, not due to delays on their part.
Understandable. And I do appreciate them. As part of the funding agreement, it was to make public programming, and here's the evidence that they're following through on that commitment. So that's great. Speaking of following through on commitments, actually, I was really pleased. Because my daughter plays soccer and she's in 6th grade, and she was invited. The 6th grade Easthampton soccer girls team was invited to be part of the high school team's senior night, the soccer team's senior night, which was played at Mountain View on the field under the light, which for longtime committee members, if you remember, it was part of hey, the lights shouldn't just be part of boys sports. This should also be for girls sports. And so we'd like the soccer team to play there. And I was really happy to see it actually happen, because I didn't know if that was ever happening.
Okay.
And
Not
so I
to
was,
bring up a sore spot, but those aren't the original field and those aren't the original lights.
yes, no, they are the original light. They are the original lights.
Before that happened.
They are the original. They are the lights.
They did reuse.
They
them.
reused
They
the lights.
reuse the lights.
They are the lights. Yes, no, I was trying to end on an up note.
I'm still,
Okay.
I'm still sore about
Okay,
that.
I get it.
Sorry.
And I'm with you on that. I totally agree. And I'm really glad to see that girls have the opportunity to play under those lights as well. And if we're spending CPA money on those lights.
Yeah.
So, there you go. Anything else? All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Thank you all.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.